happy playoff week.
That's good to say. It's been we weren't even doing the show last time we were in the playoffs.
Nope.
That's crazy. Well,
We're a short 1 year.
yeah, 1 year. So here we go. First playoff episode. Um yeah, well, we're not even really gonna cover last week, although one thing that's kind of came out is Jeff Driscoll's our backup now. They must hate PJ Walker.
Peter Walker, bitch.
I guess. I don't know. Weird. But like I said, didn't really mean anything. Nothing's changed. Would have been nice, but hey, here we are. We're a lot of weird stuff going on. We're facing the Texans.
Again.
That really was kind of the last team I thought we were going to play. I was like, all right, well, Jacksonville, obviously was the one that we all thought we were going to be playing. And then I don't know what happened. I can't really tell you, dude. At what point this team was sitting at what 8-3 or 9-3, and
They fumbled the bag.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, tremendous losses towards the end of the season. Um, I think it really started to come undone after they played Cincinnati, and Trevor Lawrence got injured. Was supposed to be out for the year, but then literally played the next week
Yeah,
and fumbled the bag against the Browns. And then it was just a very tough stretch, and they blew it again
blew it.
against the Titans, who also just had to fire their coach for
Yeah,
second losing seasons.
which
So Mike Vrabel in Tennessee is no more.
I've kind of discussed. I mean, not to get into the whole scope of football, I think that's a big mistake. I think Vrabel's a very good coach.
Mistake.
I think it is, man. I really do.
2 losing seasons, and they're just like, no.
I mean, technically,
6 playoff appearances.
the last two seasons for Kevin Stefanski have been losing seasons.
Yeah. But
So
fucking we ball.
yeah. So really interesting. So yeah, we're facing a CJ Stroud led Texans team this time. Obviously, last game we played was against Case Keenum and Davis Mills, and this we actually get CJ Stroud himself, and obviously rookie of the year candidate. In my opinion, he's kind of locked it up.
Yes, sir.
He's good, man. As we saw this past week, I mean, first play against the Colts was a massive bomb down the field to Nico Collins for a touchdown. So, this team, even though it's very young, and it really reminds me of a 2020 Cleveland Browns team. We're very young, a lot of things going for it. Experience isn't technically there, but when they get hot, they get hot. And this team has been consistent throughout the season. You can obviously point towards certain things going on with CJ Stroud getting hurt and his concussion being out for 3 weeks. But yeah, he's good, man. He came back, bounced back, looked better than ever last week. So this guy's here, and he's here to stay. And Devin Singletary continues to be a good back. Where Damian Pierce has went, I have no idea. I think he's just like, have 1,000 yards.
He's returning kicks.
Yeah, have 1,000 yard season last year, look really good, and then now he's gone. So, but Devin Singletary's been good, and Devin Singletary was good against us a couple weeks ago. So, how do you feel, man?
Well, I am in that weird mood of like I'm scared, but I'm also confident at the same time. We are playing against an electric offensive power, and CJ Stroud and Nico Collins looked like he found it. Singletary, like you said, has been playing very well, and they got a very solid defense, and it's hard to go beat a team twice, especially in their stadium.
True.
But where my confidence comes from is Browns are the better team. And the other thing is, well, they're the more experienced team, and we're playing Houston Texans team with a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach,
True.
very young all around. And then you look at the Browns. Stefanski's been in the playoffs and has won a game. You got a lot of experienced guys on the defensive side of the ball. Um, he got a front five that's been mix and match all season, but is led by very experienced players that have won a playoff game.
Yeah,
Um,
and gave up 0 sacks against when we played the Texans a couple weeks ago.
yeah, and then finally it's all capped off with Joe Flacco. Playoff Joe is what he's called, and he's been. This is where he got his name, Elite Joe, is in the playoffs.
On the road specifically.
He finds his game in the playoffs for whatever reason. It's it's just his thing
Yeah,
that he plays very well. He's coming off 4 games consecutive over 300 yards
hmm
passing. But had the week off, and I'm always afraid of that is when you decide to bench players, um, just to rest them, you
yeah.
lose your momentum, you lose your rhythm,
But
and that's what I'm worried about.
I agree with that. But on the other side, you look at a team that we me and you like a lot is the Lions, and they're going without Laporta because he got hurt last week, and I knew they were playing for they could get in the second, but you also don't have one of your biggest playmakers anymore. So both sides of the coin, I definitely see that, and it was Flacco on a roll, but you also don't want to get someone hurt. In a season like this, I totally understand it. Um, but yeah, dude, Flacco's tied for Tom Brady for the most road wins in the playoffs at 7. Pretty incredible. But yeah, it's a lot going on, a lot of interesting stuff, and think that one of the big things. And I went back and looked at stats from when we played them a couple weeks ago, and we could not get the run game started. And doing some more digging, they're actually number 1 in the league
Against the run.
against the run. So I wouldn't really hold out hope for the run game to get going again, and that's kind of scary. Um, Now, mind you, this is also the team that uh, Amari Cooper absolutely torched for 265 yards and 2 touchdowns.
11 catches.
Yeah, so this is a secondary that I weirdly feel calm against, but you also know that they have a lot of tape now. They have a lot of tape. They can do certain things that they see Amari Cooper do on film that they didn't see prior. So we'll see how they kind of bounce back and kind of counteract a lot of the stuff that we did a couple weeks ago. But you know, when it comes to that defensive line, makes me a little nervous because, like I said, that we got to get this run game going, and I thought it did kind of start to feel a little bit more balanced in those last 2 weeks of the season, but um, yeah,
Yeah, well, this is a different game. Um, like we said, the obvious one is they're getting C.J. Stroud back,
true.
but what we have not talked about is that they're getting Will Anderson back, their lead pass rusher. Um, Also partnering up with Jonathan Grenard, who was in the top 5 in sacks this year with sitting around 13. Um, these are 2 guys that didn't really play against the Browns. Grenard left the game early, and Will Anderson just did not play, so they're going to have their pass rush. But I'm going to, make a little segue into our keys to the game, vice versa. Um, this is a Houston Texans team that has given up, they're 22nd in the league and given up sacks. Um, the Browns really have to get after CJ Stroud to really, really, give themselves a chance to win this game. You need to be able to put pressure on this young quarterback. This is a playoff game. We're the more experienced group, and this is how you start. You send the wave of blitzes, 1-on-ones with Miles. I'm expecting Miles to have a big game this week. Um, this is an offensive line that has, you know, been kind of mangled this whole year. Laramie Tunsil's had to held his own against some of the best pass rushers in the league. He was one of the best tackles in the game for a while, but has fell off
Got paid like
in
once.
Houston. Yeah. Um, but this is where it starts. It
Yeah.
starts at the line of scrimmage. You got to be more physical than the Texans.
And speaking of being physical, we got Obo back, which is huge. Played limited snaps this past week, but going back a few weeks ago, we thought he was out for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Got a second look, and he's back, and I'm super excited. And another person that is back at practice today that we didn't think was going to be back.
Just designated off the IR today.
Yes. So, will he play? I don't know. That has not been confirmed yet. But if I was a betting man, I feel like he's going to make it out there.
Yeah.
And that's Grant Delpit. So that's massive to have. If having Obo and Grant back, that really really makes a lot of our pieces better and our depth so strong. So that's massive. I'm really really happy that, and I agree. Like I said, getting C.J. Stroud uncomfortable and never really making him to be able to get comfortable is going to be a huge part in this game, especially with their air attack has been absolutely crazy. But I also think, if they start relying on that run game, I feel like we can shut that down at least to a point. But if we can never let that air attack really start going, there's no way I think they win this game. So, because like you said, the Browns team is more experienced and more well-rounded. But I said this Houston team is very feisty, man. They got a lot of pieces and they're hungry. So
They're playing with house money.
yeah,
They know they weren't supposed to be there. They're a young team. If they lose, it's like whatever. We're just beginning.
yeah,
They were really not supposed to be anything, but you get a rookie of the year, you get potentially the coach of the year, you get potentially the rookie defensive player of the year, all on the same team. Um, around surrounded by a couple of guys that have been kind of steals in the draft. When you look at Nico Collins and Tank Dell,
yeah. Which is not playing, but he was a steal.
Yes. It's just the build up for them this year has been all these late round picks that have been just absolutely steals for them.
Great.
And they're basically just living off our trades.
Yeah, I
they've
know.
been one of our best trade partners over the last decade.
Yeah.
Going back and forth with trades. But just to go off what you said is, you getting after the quarterback, you also got to stop the run. Devin Singletary, had I think it was about 670 on total this year, rushing, over 4.3 yards per carry. That's pretty damn good, considering what he was doing in Buffalo.
Yeah, looks like a different guy.
Real shot in the face of the Bills.
Yeah.
But the Browns need to be concerned with stopping the run and putting pressure on C.J. Stroud. And I think the final key to this game is go out there and punch him in the mouth first. You're on the road. It's tough to win on the road, especially in the playoffs. This is a young team that's feisty. You want to go out there and put out the fire right away.
Yeah.
You want to get out to an early start. You don't want to wait too long and have to play a comeback game. Even though the Browns have been very good in comeback games, I believe they've the highest amount of points they've been down was 20 points, and they came back and won. You go look back at the Baltimore game in Baltimore, they were down 20. San Francisco at home, they were down 10, they came back and won. They were down 14 against the Bears at home.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's another one.
Yeah.
I can't think.
You don't want to get in those situations, but
not in the playoffs. Not in the playoffs, of course.
Yeah.
My point being is, don't put yourself in that situation, even though you can do it. Get it done and take care of business. Go take the garbage out. It's ready to go. We got to be 1-0 this week.
Yeah.
That's a mindset. We're 3 games away from the Super Bowl.
That's nuts to say.
And it's crazy. It's only wild card weekend, but
true.
You go take care of this game, then you're on to the next.
Yeah.
And it's simple as that. You got to take it one game at a time, because if you're thinking ahead, you might not be making it to the next.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
This is the crazy thing about the playoffs is you don't know when your season's going to end.
Yeah.
And it's going to be filled with anxiety because you just don't. Every little thing is going to matter in the game. So especially with the bad news of Dustin Hopkins not being able to play.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not official, but Riley Patterson will probably be your kicker this week. 91% accuracy in the playoffs. I'll take that.
I'll take
I had
it.
a game winner against the Chargers in the playoffs last year. Um, you know, this is a this is a game where the Browns could really put the stamp on it and say we're here in the playoffs, we're ready to go. If you come out and go do the same thing you did last time here in Houston, you're really going to have this league, on watch.
Yeah.
Because you go look at all these other playoff games right now between the AFC, I really believe they're all toss-ups.
Yeah.
You go look at Miami and Kansas City. You cannot tell me who's going to win that game.
Last time they met, it was 21-14, and weird things happened in that game to get there, right?
Yep.
I mean, Tyreek fumble to run back, get 6 points
And it might be the coldest recorded NFL game of all time
over there.
in Kansas City. Yes. So
Interesting.
that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Kansas City football in January is always a gem.
Yeah.
That's what you imagine a playoff game looking like.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at Buffalo hosting the Steelers,
How they
who've been
it.
red hot.
Yeah.
I think that game could really go either way because
both teams have been red hot.
right, because you're looking at a Buffalo team that came into the playoffs red hot. They've had to fight back, but so have the Steelers.
Yeah.
And one thing about the Steelers is they're going to play you to the very end.
True.
They don't care who you are. They're going to play really tough, very physical defense that I just don't think the Buffalo Bills are going to be able to handle. And then finally, you look at, no, that's it. That's the only 3 AFC games this week.
Yeah.
But looking at those opponents, who are you scared of? Who are you scared of beyond that?
I feel like we're all on equal playing fields here.
Yes.
And I'm just here for it. I'm here for the ride. I'm excited for it.
It's an equal playing field, but you know what? It starts this week in Houston.
Absolutely.
Put them on goddamn notice.
Yeah. So let's start talking about key player of the game.
Yes.
You go first.
Myles Garrett. You already know it. I already said it. Myles Garrett is the leader of this team. There's nothing else to be said. He had a quiet second half of the season, but sometimes regular season stats just don't matter. They just don't matter if you make the playoffs and you have bigger rewards, team rewards,
True,
trophies.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for. We're not here for defensive player of the year. And I'm sure that he wants a defensive player of the year, but his Super Bowl would look a lot better.
A lot nicer.
And it starts this week. This is a not very good offensive line. You got to get after this young quarterback. And Myles is the key to this game. Whether it's blowing up the run or getting a sack when you need it. You need like 2 or 3 this week.
Yeah, and he is so clutch, typically. When you need it, he's there. And I think we definitely need
He
that.
needs to have a game like he had in Indianapolis, where he had like 3 sacks, a tip pass for an interception, a blocked field goal,
Yeah,
a strip
stuff.
2 strip sacks. Like, this is the game we need from him.
Absolutely.
Just to scare.
And we needed the next 3.
Yes.
So, or 4. But not looking ahead. So I'm gonna throw out the next 2, if that's okay. So this next one needs to get broken up between 3 key players. Okay, and that's Martin Emerson, Denzel Ward, and Greg Newsome. Those dudes need to shut these receivers down. Put them on that island. Put them on the island, dude. You guys have been playing great all year. We need all these guys to just be shut down. So CJ Stroud struggles in the backfield. They have no one to throw to. No one's open. I know we're going to play a ton of stuff against Nico Collins. Like a lot of these guys are good. They're a little bit, I don't want to say like um unique in the sense of that like you don't know who's going to be like, wow, I can't believe where that guy come from, right? Because we talked about a lot of these guys are younger, but they're really good. So lock them all down. I think that is going to be massive because, like I said, the more time CJ Stroud's in the pocket looking for receivers gives it even a little bit better for Myles Garrett to get a sack or make some magic happen. And the third person, the last cowtail.
Put it on. Fucking put it on.
God damn, Joe Flacco, boy.
Wacko for Flacco. Flack around, find out. Let's go. Playoff Joe. That's my quarterback. That's my quarterback. Right there.
Joe Flacco won me a parlay last week, so I used the earnings to get a jersey.
That's
Joe Flacco needs to turn up this week and get that 8th win to beat out Tom Brady.
Fuck Tom.
Yeah, man. Flacco really needs to show what's up and have a killer game. Win us this game on the road. And man, dude, everybody wants to fucking see a Baltimore Ravens game against Joe Flacco in Baltimore. Ooh, chef's kiss. Absolutely. So let's go get it done. Flacco's the man at the helm. And, he's been making magic happen in the last, 5-6 weeks. Let's go, man. This is where it really, really, goes into, this is really where we need it. This is the big time right now. This is the playoff season. So, Joe Flacco, absolutely.
Joe.
Absolutely. Next segment.
Or Mike Lewis, real estate games to watch.
Yeah.
It's wild card weekend. It's one of the most beautiful weekend in sports. You're going to see some of the best football games, and you might see some of the worst games you've ever seen. It's where you see some teams that just barely made it get in and lay an egg, or they come out and upset. Or you see two teams that are evenly matched, and one of them's the wild card for whatever reason, even though they're the better team.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful goddamn thing. I would have to say that the game to watch this week is going to be the showdown in Arrowhead.
Oof.
What a sexy game.
Yeah.
Saturday night, Miami heads to Kansas City and plays in the frozen tundra. Woo! Man, it's going to be good. It's going to be fucking cold. Tua's going to be freezing. You got Pat Mahomes. Or, sorry, Kadarius Toney said, Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes. This is going to be a great game to watch.
Yeah.
How bad the weather's going to be. I still think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Kansas City's defense has been playing very well, even though their offense has been kind of eh.
Yeah.
Miami's been hit or miss. You want to talk about fumbling the bag. They did it last week against Buffalo, and I'm sure they don't want to do it again this week. So I'm fully expecting Miami to go into Kansas City to get the win. They're just like they're like the best team in the league for 75% of the year. And then when it comes to crunch time, they fumble.
Yeah.
They had the total lead of the division up until last weekend.
I know.
And they blew it.
So,
which is absolutely crazy. And I will say that your game to watch is pretty amazing too.
Yeah. It's one that I would have never said would have happened, right? Like a few years ago when this trade happened, that Matt Stafford would come back into Detroit and face the Detroit Lions with the LA Rams in Detroit. Man, that's so spicy. That's spicy. That's as spicy as Flacco Baltimore. Like, oh man, Stafford getting drafted first overall, and now, a decade and a half later coming back into town. trying to get his team to the Super Bowl again against the team that drafted Jared Goff first overall and then traded him away because they thought he was rubbish. And everyone thought that Detroit Lions, he was just being sent there as we're just trying to get rid of him and no one really cares and he's going to be out. But now they're really freaking good. And this Rams team is really freaking good. As we saw, the Browns saw, they're really good. So, dude, this game is going to be insane.
Fireworks.
But man, I really, really hope Detroit's able to pull this one off. But they have a lot of guys that are not going to be playing. So, it's a tough one. But
Rams
Aiden
are red
Hutchinson,
hot.
Aiden Hutchinson though, dude, coming clutch. You got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery both having 1,000 yards on the season. I don't know. That's gonna be a really good game. I'm excited. I'm basically watching football the entire weekend. So
Yes,
excited.
exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, prediction time.
You do it. You do it.
All right. So I think at some point in this game, it might happen early, it might happen late, but I feel like it's going to eventually become a shootout. I think we got two quarterbacks with two really big arms and some receivers that can get tricky. And I think it's going to get wild, but I think I'm going to go 30-27 Browns. Close one, high scoring, but good game. Browns are going to win. Don't you do it. Don't you do it.
It's been 3 years. 3 years to this very day. A late night and the wild card. The Cleveland Browns went to Pittsburgh to catch a ball. And they kicked their fucking ass. May we never forget.
It was incredible.
How many of those players still remain on this team? There's still plenty.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty. And I don't think they're going to forget the game that followed in Kansas City. We got some unfinished business.
I still sleep at night thinking about that. And
you sleep? I can't sleep thinking about that. This is unfinished business for this team. From AB to Stefanski to Batonio to Teller to fucking Njoku. Taki.
Yeah.
Denzel.
Miles
Garrett.
All them boys.
This is unfinished business. Go in there. Go give them their fucking walking papers. Tell them to go home. Because it's over.
It's my stadium now.
It is over. The Browns are not taking shit anymore.
Yeah. We want to give them a one-way ticket to Cancun.
Yeah. Fucking go home. CJ Stroud, go get your Rookie of the Year award and fuck off. D'Amico Ryans, you're about to find out why you're not the Coach of the Year. Because we got the fucking Pollock. He's about to coach you a new asshole. So with that being said, your Cleveland fucking Browns will walk out of Houston victors 20-17. Even without Dustin Hopkins, they're going to get that game-winning field goal. That's it. Go Browns. Be with your families on Saturday. And please, God, for the love of God, save our Browns.
I couldn't have said any better. Go Browns.
Fuck the Steelers.